Hello, hello, hello. Assalamu alaikum. Ji ayanu. Pakhair ragale. Ni hao. Chuna shumme. Washmale. Ohio Gonzaimus. Guten Morgen. Hi, hugs and hellos. Privyet. And a very amazing khush amadi to everybody who's tuned into PT World and are watching World this morning alongside the one and only Maha Makhdoom and the second and only Shazad Khan. Hello, Maha. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, Shazad. I am happy to be back. How are you? We're very colorful today. I like this.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to be very vibrant with colors.
We're
as
trying
well.
to be cool for you
Yeah,
guys.
but as a matter of fact, thank God that I made it to the show today as well. Because, ladies and gentlemen, in life, what happens is that
you don't wake up on time.
Yeah, you don't wake up on time. In fact, I did wake up on time, and then I was like, okay, let's procrastinate a little. So I set my alarm for 8:10, and it didn't go off because it was in the PM too. So I woke up at 8:20 as well, and then I was rushing, and then I couldn't find my clothes. So whatever I got, I just wore it. So this is what it is.
And it's working, so you're lucky. But that's, you know, those extra 5 minutes are killer. And you're just torturing yourself. I do the same. And the thing is, the difference is when you have to go to work, you don't want to wake up. But when you don't have to go to work, you wake up early. And it's really easy, and it's crazy.
And even other than that, you know, when you're running late, so you're actually focusing on driving as well. And then, you know, you want all of your driving skills to be at your hand and, you know, just be very quick. And that's the moment when it does not work.
No, and it's bad.
And you're like, oh my God, man, am I even going to make it to the show as well?
Yeah, it was, when I got your message, I was like, oops. But anyway, so let's take a look. Do you want to discuss something else, or should we look at the top stories now?
Let's go ahead and take a look at the top stories. Let's see what's going on around in the globe. That's it. Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi has stressed the need for close cooperation between Pakistan and the United States in the fight against terrorism.
An estimated 223,000 people turned out for demonstrations across France on Tuesday to protest the labor reforms planned by President Emmanuel Macron.
Daimler CEO Ajay and 3 times F1 world champion Lewis Hamilton unveiled what they described as a Formula One car for public roads. Well, I need one.
Yeah, because it's already so safe on the roads, yeah?
Yeah, and it's by Mercedes too.
Okay. Well, now you can get one.
निकले हैं शहज़ादे दुनिया को दिखाने आए हैं हम दीवाने फिर से गेम उठाने पूछो ना ये कैसी रात होगी आज हर सू चारों तरफ होगी अपनी बात फिर सीटी बजेगी स्टेज सजेगा और ताली बजेगी अब खेल जमेगा फिर सीटी बजेगी
Pakistani cricket fans warmly welcomed international cricketers at Gaddafi Stadium in Lahore. And what a great welcome. Well, it's nice to see them. Excellent.
I think this is the best story. Pakistan beat World 11 by 20 runs in the first 2020 of Independence Cup Series 2017 at Gaddafi Stadium, Lahore.
Excellent. Well done, Team Pakistan.
Yeah.
Go team. So did you watch? You didn't watch the cricket?
I did.
Oh, okay. So okay, okay. All right.
It's perfectly all right. But before, you know, we indulged into more of cricket or what happened and what's going to happen in these 2 days as well. I think we've got a public service message coming up, and that's when afterwards I think we'll be talking about cricket too.
Okay, as Shahzad mentioned, he was late for work, and as we saw, there's new cars always being, you know, unveiled to the world. But at the end of the day, you know, road safety is really important. You need to be safe on the roads. Try not to speed so much. If you're going to be speeding, be careful. Use your indicators. Don't break the red lights. I saw all of these things happen this morning, and I have a feeling the person I'm sitting next to is guilty of this as well.
Yeah, I am for today.
So, you know, the thing is, yeah, but the thing is, there's children going to school now, there's people on the roads, there's people who clean the roads as well, so you have to be careful. It doesn't matter what part of the country you're in, so please do be careful. Or in the world you're in, just Road safety first, guys. So that's our public service message. Now let's move on to what Shazad wants to talk about.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, definitely we'll be talking about cricket today as well. A little bit, we'll touch upon it, and we're trying to get Mr. Kanan Ashad on the call as well. Let's see what he has to say. But other than that, I think Pakistan has performed tremendously well.
Yes.
They look in great shape as well. And World 11, you know, as a matter of fact, when you make such a team where, you know, you get so many other players from different parts of the world, so what happens is that you obviously have to give them time and space to settle down. But right now, let's see what Kanan Ashad has to say about the performance of World 11 and Pakistan as well. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Fine, Shazad. Thank you very much for inviting.
Pehchana aapne?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. मैंने कहा पहचाना आपने, ठीक हैं आप?
बिल्कुल, I know you well.
So first of all, what do you have to say about yesterday's match?
Shazad, if you have seen the match yesterday, well, of course, Pakistan won. And the result of this match is, no doubt, is very important. But more important is that the cricket has returned back to the grounds of Pakistan, Gaddafi Stadium, Lahore. And if you look at it, as a cricketer, I'm talking about, that quite a few cricketers from the present Pakistan lot, like Azhar Ali, like you have Sarfraz Ahmad, and quite a few others who have played about 40, 45 test matches, who have played about more than 60 ODI or T20s. But this is going to be their first match against their home crowd in Pakistan. That is the thing which is very, very important to me.
Exactly.
Now, what about what Pakistan has done yesterday? Yes, it was a placid pitch. It was a good pitch. And I think Pakistan did well to score, chase the target and successfully chase the target. But on the other hand, I'll say that there's a difference between the two teams. The Pakistani team is well jointed together after the win against in the Champions Trophy, whereas the World 11 is composed of players from various parts of the world, north, south, east, west, and naturally they will take some time to make a combination. They have played well, they were near to the target, but Pakistan ultimately won. That was looking to the result initially when the play started. I think they have only 2 days to practice at Dubai, and then they shifted to Lahore. Yeah.
All right. But sir, at the same time, now what I want to ask over here is, let's talk about World 11 as well. When you get so many people from around the globe and make a team, don't you think that they need time to settle and probably a few more matches to play?
Yes, certainly. You see, Pakistani team, I mean, is a young players, but they know each other. They know each other well. They have shared the dressing room atmosphere. They know the combination. Similarly, though no doubt the World 11 player, they have got big, big names. But do not forget that the names, of course, there's importance for that. But the combination, the batting order, the bowling order, the fielding placements, all they matter when they play together for a certain time. And I think they have played the one match, they have got some lessons, and probably they are going to play again on the same pitch, so that will make a difference. And I'm pretty sure that today's match, at least the world level performance should be better than what they did yesterday.
And sir, what about today and tomorrow as well? What do you expect? What's going to happen today?
Well, I think it should be a good match, and from crowd's point of view, you know, as you know, T20 is the cricket where matter most is the sixes and fours, and where matter most is the wickets, matter most is the good catches, and that's all been seen yesterday. Probably that will be seen today as well. And I think it should be a good combination, better combination for the World 11 and Pakistan. I don't think they may have make one or odd change. Otherwise, the Pakistan line is set up. They have got about 6 or 7 bowlers. They have got good combination of the batting. There are quite few batsmen who couldn't bat yesterday. They may have a chance today. But it should be a good cricket, good match today. And Lahori crowd and the whole Pakistan crowd should enjoy. I'm pretty sure that coming back to the crowd and coming back to the cricket in Pakistan, that's a very, very big leap from the Pakistan's cricketing point of view.
Amazing. But sir, other than that, are you in Lahore, by the way?
I am.
Did you go to witness the match and the cricket as well?
Yes, I did, because I'm part of this, one of the committees of the PCB. I was there for about 2 days back, then came back again. But certainly I'll try to come back today or tomorrow but I'll certainly miss the final match.
Just wanted to ask you about the enthusiasm which was there. You know, people said it, people witnessed it, that, you know, people were very exuberant of the fact that, you know, there was cricket taking place as well within Pakistan and on Pakistani soil. But other than that, there were a lot of people complaining that, you know, quite a lot of roads were blocked. So how do you see that, you know, people are excited, people are not, and what's happening within the Gaddafi Stadium?
I'll talk for the first positive part of it. That yes, certainly the photograph of the cricketer is all over Pakistan. It gives to be a festive look, and people are enjoying. People are keen to watch the match. People are from the stadium. The tickets are not available. They are trying to get the tickets as possible for them. But certainly on the other side, yes, roads are blocked. Yes, there are hurdles for the crowd to go to the stadium. Yes, there is a traffic jam as well. But you have to accept all these things for a noble cause, that the cricket in Pakistan is coming back after so many years. You remember we had an incident again when the Sri Lankan team came to Pakistan. There were certain players, they were attacked. The team was attacked. And from that onwards, it's about now 8 years, more than 8 years, that there has been no international cricket in Pakistan. It's a good omen. I think it's a great effort by the cricket authorities, Mr. Najam Sethi, the government of Pakistan and the government of Punjab and all security agencies.
Exactly, but sir, at the same time, are we trying to neglect, or are we trying to say that Zimbabwe is not an international team because they did come to Pakistan?
Sorry, Shazad, I could not hear you. Come in, please.
Okay, I'm going to change the question now. Okay, sir, now what I want to say over here is one last thing, and that is, since the time that we have, you know, clinched the title of ICC champions as well, do you think everybody in the world actually wants to play with Pakistan?
Pakistan, yes, I can tell you for sure that Pakistan has got great importance in the world cricket. If I go back, just give me a few minutes. Pakistan has been part of the ICC main nucleus right from 50 years back. Still, Pakistan is among the 10 test-playing nations. Pakistani players are very, very popular all over the world, particularly in India and Bangladesh. Pakistan, everybody likes to play Pakistan because they have an entertaining style of cricket. So I think when the doors will be open, every country will like to have shares with Pakistan from the cricketing point of view, from the financial point of view, and I'm sure that this is a very good beginning. And after that, soon we will be having here Sri Lanka followed by the other teams. That's a good sign, and I'm pretty sure that that will continue.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us. Lovely talking to you, and thank you very much to Government of Pakistan, to the Armed Forces of Pakistan as well, to the provincial governments, and for all of those people who've actually made an effort within PCB.
Exactly. So with that, we're going to go for a short break, and when you come back, we're going to start our conversation, which is very important and very interesting, and we have a great guest, so do stay tuned.
And it's just a short commercial break.
Who is to differentiate between what we do and what we're meant to do?
The largest cultural activity in Pakistan is the annual National Folk Festival, Lok Mela, held in Islamabad in October each year. Over the past 2 decades, this festival has taken on an international flavour, and more than 20 different countries have sent their artisans and performers to participate in the festival. Nationally, the festival has become a thing of pride for artisans and performers who come on their own to participate. Most important of all, the provinces of Pakistan and Azad Jammu and Kashmir put up beautifully decorated pavilions, and visitors had the unique opportunity to see an assortment of Pakistan's traditionally rich culture in the federal capital of Islamabad for an exciting 10 days. An exhibition of artisans at work under the banner of the Heritage Museum forms the core of this festival. Pavilions of each province depict their own regional culture and crafts. The Research and Media Centre of Lok Virsa arranges groups of dancers that perform all over the festival grounds, inviting visitors to join in, and in the evening arranges music concerts from all parts of Pakistan. This festival is a true depiction of the diversity found in Pakistani culture. Fairs and Festivals of Pakistan.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. For everybody who just got tuned into PT while you watching World this morning, alongside Maha Makhdoom and Shahzad Khan. Earlier, we were in conversation with kind of retired Mr. Nashad as well, and we were talking about the performance of Pakistan in World 11, where Pakistan won, which is a very good omen. They look good in shape, and they're fit to play a few more matches too.
Yeah, so fingers crossed. Good luck, Pakistan team. All our prayers are with you to win, and even if you don't, we will support you as long as you play your best. Okay, so now moving on to our topic, very important topic. We're going to be discussing learning difficulties. This is something that we have always tried to highlight, and it's something that a lot of kids and a lot of parents get confused with, because, there are certain things that fall into the realm of learning difficulties, such as dyslexia. And over here, there's a lot of stigma attached to it. But basically, it's language-based learning difficulties, and particularly in, that's dyslexia, that's particularly in reading. And with the difficulties, it affects your life because it's problems in acquiring knowledge and skills. It's a cognitive disorder, and basically, it's all about your processing. It's kind of all a bit messed up. So now we're going to be discussing what are the solutions, because, we highlight problems quite a lot on this show as well, and we do try to offer solutions. But sometimes, depending on the guest, we kind of get lost in just talking about what the hurdles are. But today, it's going to be solution-based. What can parents do? What can schools do? The lady that we have, who's very apt, I'm not going to introduce this yet because Shahzad wants to say something.
So now what I want to say over here is, whenever we talk about learning difficulties, ladies and gentlemen, and where the stigma comes in is where the parents do not really realize, because, there are no symptoms where you can probably figure it out that, okay, the child might be going through this problem. As a matter of fact, quite a lot of films have been made, even across the border, just to make parents understand that this is one real problem which you have to understand about your kid, where they see different shapes and they could not even realize which shape it is. And then the parents end up even beating their children because, it is so difficult for them to learn or to recognize or to remember.
Exactly. And another thing is when parents get frustrated that the child doesn't understand a fraction or a division, beating them and scaring them and making them cry is not going to make them learn. It's going to make them scared of them asking you for more help, and which will create more problems further down the line. And this is something that we see within this culture quite a lot. We can only talk about Pakistan because we live here, but it happens in other countries as well. But within Pakistan, we have a wonderful guest.
But
so much to say.
That's how I learned, actually, because I wasn't really a good student, so I got quite a lot of beating, and that's how I learned.
So, that's the thing. No, I didn't learn like that. I remember I went to primary school in Pakistan when I was like about 3 or 4. and this is just before we moved, and I couldn't do the Alif Bepe, right? I got it wrong. And the teacher made me stand on a desk. And that scared me. As a 3-4-year-old, that is not a way to make a child learn.
But then did you learn it?
No, yeah, obviously I learned it. But there was a really kind teacher and she taught me. But then I came to England and asking questions was encouraged. So let's introduce our guest. She's been working in this area for 20 years. She's been counseling, doing workshops, focusing on learning difficulties, focusing on KPK and Charsada and Mardan. We've been joined by Rashida Anwar Khan. She is a counselor, trainer, a teacher. 3 sets of skills for learning, language, behavior, and management. This is known as the academic therapy in the field of learning difficulty, and she will tell us all about it. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us, and apologies for the really long introduction. But there's a lot to talk about in this topic.
Well, yes, and I think because it's so pervasive. Dyslexia can be in so many different areas. The 3 of us could have dyslexia to minute degrees in different areas, in the 3 different areas that you just mentioned.
So let's get the conversation started, and let's start with the first question. What are learning difficulties, and what difficulties fall within that realm?
Learning difficulties are basically an inability to learn in an academic environment.
Just an academic environment?
Purely academic environment.
Okay.
So that dispels the notion that there is mental retardation at all.
Okay.
That does not exist in dyslexia. They are average to above average intelligence.
Excellent.
And these students then close their mind to academic subjects and focus on the playground. And you'll find them brilliant sports people. I mean, their sense of timing, the sense of the strategy they use. All your winning teams are full of dyslexic students who didn't perform well in school and were much better outside school. They become good businessmen too. So that answers that very first, I think, question about it.
And no, that's kind of because they're not getting that support maybe within the academic world.
Well, certainly not, because it has to make sense to them in a different way. It has to be as practical as sports.
Yeah.
Okay, now before we move on towards the different skill set as well, now what I want to ask is, how do you think the parents at home can realize that this might be the problem with my kid? Some exercises which they can probably perform alongside their kid so that they know that, he's actually having difficulty in learning?
Well, certainly. First of all, if they find the child doesn't pick up a book and want to read, and many of us think that...
I'm pointing at one.
Many of us think that should be a natural thing for a child. Where it's natural, of course, they'd like to look at the pictures, if there are pictures, so it helps. But if they don't even want to try and read the words, having understood the alphabet, and as you say, the basic phonics in school, and they're still reluctant to read, what they will do is, and this is where they're so clever, they have excellent verbal skills. So they will talk about the story. Because it was read aloud at some point. So, and they have amazing memories too. They'll actually look at the page, give you the impression they're reading, but they're just saying what they have remembered.
Wow. I'm already thinking I'm dyslexic.
I'm already thinking you're dyslexic.
I was just going to say that, in a way, we all manifest that kind of behavior. When I get through to the next
So basically you pick up tools to kind of counteract the weaknesses.
Yes, actually stop and put your finger on a page and say, can you read that sentence? Or can you read that word? Now the word in or on or at, I mean, that shouldn't be difficult. So if you've put your finger somewhere else and they're saying in, on, or at because they remembered that it was in the story of that page.
Okay, so now let's start, because we don't have that much time, and I know we're going to run out of time. So let's talk about the solutions, and let's talk about this 3 sets of skills, which is the behavior, the academic training, therapy. Now, within this, lots of difficulties fall in. So all the parents that are watching, if you feel that your child has this issue, then these are the things that you can use and utilize. So before we get started, what do you want parents to be aware about?
I think, as you mentioned earlier, parents need to know that there are 3 types of behavior that are manifestations of this condition. One is inattention. If the child is not paying attention when you're talking to him or her, any act, you've asked them to do something and they're not doing it, you've had to repeat that. That needs to be addressed. The second one is hyperactive behavior, which is what we would call a restlessness. Now that restlessness has 3 reasons. One is that there is actually too much energy
Yeah.
in the child and not enough channels for it. So it's that simple
Right.
to find the channels for it. Not have a tutor, but actually have them play on the ground, a sports ground somewhere, and you'll deal with it. Because you're paying for something that you know probably is not adequate.
Yeah.
The second one is the type of behavior that we call impulsivity. Now these are basically well-behaved children who will suddenly behave as you think out of character, but they are driven by their impulses.
Okay.
So they feel an impulse to get up and walk about at that point.
Okay.
They'll feel an impulse to just blurt out something, and teachers often have a problem there
Okay.
because you asked one student and the other one is blurting out the answer.
Yeah.
That's the child who just says, I know it and I need to show the teacher that I
Okay.
know it. Not thinking, of course, that the teacher has asked someone else. So there's impulsivity, which can happen in a very quiet child too. Don't associate hyperactivity with impulsivity.
Okay.
And the third is excitability. This is a hyperactive behavior. Excitability means the child cannot control anger, fear. It can be just attention-seeking behavior. You think it's that. There's a reason. The child is just overwhelmed by his or her own feelings. It's as simple as that. So any parent who's observed this needs to take notice of the solutions that we talk about.
Over here, I think the only problem is that, you know,
Oh, kids. I wish there were some kids here today.
Over here, the problem is that whenever, well, that's what I've heard the mother saying, that, you know, oh, he's been drinking or she's been drinking so much cola, that's why they're hyperactive. I mean, that does not even make sense here. How can somebody be hyperactive just by drinking cola?
No. The sugar does create that external. That's artificial.
Even though the
hyperactive.
mothers have been putting in water just to, you know, dilute it a bit, but that still happens.
The amount of sugar in it, that is not good. It will make any kid. No kids should be drinking Coke anywhere at a young age. But anyways, okay, so now we've kind of got a bit of an idea of the realm of learning difficulties. So let's talk about the therapy that you're talking about.
Well, you've just mentioned one.
Yeah.
One is high sugar. Reduces attention by, it reduces attention, mental attention,
Okay.
all right, by 20%, and it increases the physical activity. So
Okay.
can you see what this one thing is doing? It's slowing down the mental process and increasing their physical activity.
Okay.
The second is high fat. So fried foods, junk food,
Okay.
the dyes and the chemicals in them. So if that could be controlled, now I think we have to be very realistic here.
Yes.
It's come to stay. We do basically have these things around us in one form or the other.
Yep.
Let them have them for weekend treats,
Yep.
not at times of study. They have to.
We used to get a treat once a week.
Yes, that's a
And
good
it's not
idea.
even about a treat. I think what I've witnessed over here within the kids is that as soon as they start studying, they feel hungry. Oh, mom, can you cook something for me? And then that's what they want to eat, nuggets and all of these stuff. I don't think that they're very healthy anyways.
Well, first of all, they should have a drink of water,
Okay.
a glass of water always. That keeps them hydrated, and it gives the brain the oxygen that it needs also.
Okay.
That is one. And then the salads are fine. Have munchies in the form of salads.
Okay, delicious salad.
Yes, delicious. You know, carrot sticks, in fact, is the easiest, I think, to
Yeah.
make. Carrots, cucumbers. They need to know that that's the snack food for the brain. And please, I think if they're told that it's for the brain,
Yeah.
you know they'll want to.
Yeah.
I think every child wants to be smart.
Yes.
So
That's
use that
true.
as the...
That's why you see almonds, even though I didn't
Almonds
like them because it
too.
was for the brain.
It was for the brain.
Walnuts.
So now, yeah. Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So now that's one aspect. So within that, so the learning falls into it. So tell us more about the
Yes.
academic
Okay.
therapy regarding the learning.
What teachers have to do, because of course we don't have to worry about the snacks and everything else. We do look at the tuck shop though for that control.
Okay.
Teachers need to be very clear that it is basically attention first. They need to know all the techniques that we use to hold the child's attention.
Right.
We also need to know how long we can do that.
Okay.
The research figure has shown that it is age plus 2 minutes. That is
Age
the
plus
attention
2.
span
Oh,
of
age
children.
plus 2 minutes. Of children.
Yes, below
Okay.
13.
Okay.
13 plus, if you want to know the latest research figure, it is 15 minutes. It is.
So no matter how old you
You know, that's because of the constant interruptions that we have.
So then don't you
It's very
think? So
true.
then don't you think that we need to change the style, the way we teach kids as well? Because you know, one class or one subject class is for 40 or 45 minutes long, and if this is what the research says, why are we even then
10-minute
them
classes.
to do that?
Absolutely right. Half the teaching can be done on the sports ground.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, pre-algebra skills, pre-geometry skills.
Really?
Yes, you can teach that all. through activities
Okay.
like play, and that's why I say sports, because sports is essentially a scientific form of play, isn't it?
Okay, so now you worked mainly in Mardan and KPK. You've done a lot
I
of work
live there. That's my home.
Oh yeah, of course, no, that's
yes,
fine.
Shahzada
That's
is
absolutely
Barabar
fine.
Virginia.
Like we're from Islamabad, so we do most of our work here, so that's
yes,
absolutely fine. But over there, how have you tried to, this learning that you've just spoken about? How have you got teachers, schools, parents to get on your side, because you have been doing a lot of work there? Tell us how you got them.
And one more thing which I want to ask, and that is that in that region of our country, do you think people are more concerned about their sons or daughters too?
They're now concerned about the daughters also. Now they realize
so
that.
both.
Oh yes, because they want their own daughter to go to a female doctor.
Yes.
And they'd like a female teacher, so you can see
Of course,
that
so you
actually
need the
goes for
females
them.
then.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so now over there, how have you, how did you get the schools to adopt these methods, and what were the solutions? Because you're giving us the theory solutions. How did you implement these solutions?
First of all, I think I need to clarify this because it's the rural sector we're talking about.
Yes.
Knowing that I belong there by marriage, I didn't grow up there or in Pakistan, so I've really come.
UK and USA,
I've come with
right?
yes, and I've come with a totally a different background that in which I had to overcome certain inadequacies.
Okay.
And having done that, I think, knowing that I'm from there, and of course I'm totally answerable to them, they can come to my house anytime if they have a problem, that breaks the ice.
Okay.
Because they say, all right, she's not just coming here and then disappearing.
Yeah.
She's here for us no matter what stage we have the problem. So that is the first thing. Second is the fact that it took me 3 years to do this.
Okay.
3 hard years because this time I'm older and I was determined to do it faster. And I just thought, okay, I still had to establish what we call that sense of trust. Now, this is called academic trust.
Okay, academic trust.
And there's all kinds of trust. I mean, we have professional trust in doctors also and lawyers. So academic trust is something in which the learner needs to feel that no matter what, this person is not going to judge me. And I've gone into the tiniest, dinkiest little schools that barely can be called a school.
Yeah.
And none of that shows in me the sense that I feel and the sense of angst that I feel about it, because it is very hard emotionally to even do this and to talk to people who have literally no awareness. So the first thing they asked me is, are you talking about abnormal children? And I said, no, I'm talking about the children in your class. 40% of them, 4 out of 10, will not perform well. And the other thing I had to overcome was the sense of keeping face.
Yes.
In the rural areas, there's a lot of that. So parents and teachers are reluctant to talk about a problem. Heads are even reluctant to admit that there is a problem. So I don't say it's a problem. I just say, how can I help make an improvement? And you have to choose your words very carefully. Having done that, we've got to the stage where they're now talking about it. The techniques now are very unusual. I have to share them here, which is hard.
Yeah, obviously, but before you share the techniques,
I want to know
the only thing which I want to ask is that, what kind of changes do you see once they, once you apply all of these techniques? So do they become toppers? Because it's all about academic sessions anyways, because we're talking about learning difficulties. So what? Do they score 100 out of 100, or then it's 80 out of 100?
Believe it or not, they do score 100 out of 100 where they can. That has happened here at the higher level, where I had to teach children, the students who came to universities from rural areas, and they did top the department. So that's just to show it does work. But the best we can hope for is 80% from those who are severely weak.
I mean, when I used to get 80%, I used to be over the moon, and I used to work very hard for it. This idea of 100%. Anyway, we are running very short of time, and I really want us,
and I
because
just
you have
want
so much
to share
knowledge to offer.
what percentage I used to get. So I used to get actually 40% or 42%. I used to top the class from the bottom.
Okay, excellent. Well done. And now you're on top. Anyway,
Thank you.
That's great. So now let's talk about this academic therapy and all these techniques, so the learning, language, and the behavior management. So tell us about this.
Specifically for attention, what parents can do, the old-fashioned thing that many of us remember, coloring activities. Now, coloring can be done with 2 goals in mind. One is that you just say, keep within the lines.
Yes.
The child who's having difficulty staying within the lines needs to be watched.
Okay.
Because there's a certain time period by which the child should have achieved a kind of coloring activity in which they can work within the lines. Dot-to-dot activities, have you seen those?
Yes,
Yeah.
I love those.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
That is brilliant. And what I'm engaged in now is doing that for grown-ups.
Okay.
Because grown-ups need to do that too. And I'm using Islamic designs.
Wow.
So as you can see, a lot of my work is culturally sensitive.
Excellent.
Gender sensitive also.
Excellent.
I have to be very clear about that.
Yeah.
And working within that has challenged me. And that has become acceptable.
Okay.
Which is interesting.
Okay.
So that's for attention. We've got attention and memory there.
So,
Okay.
so for somebody, you know, who's actually dealing with kids who've got learning difficulties as well, and then we know that the syllabus and the content of whatever we have been reading or studying haven't actually changed in the past, I don't know how many decades.
Absolutely.
So don't you think it is difficult for you to create your own content, which is culturally suitable too as well and not very gender biased?
All right, I think for that I'll have to give credit to the training. You have to have the training for therapy in order to understand what goes first and what goes next.
Yeah.
All right, where I have been challenged is it's totally Western. The method I learned was that in the US called the Orton-Gillingham, OG.
Okay.
We call it the OG. Now, that was the original one. In Britain, you have Hornsby.
Yes.
And these methods, I've had to come up with not just an Urdu translation, because for a long time I worked in Azad Kashmir and Hazara. But then when I decided to actually apply it in my own area, I had to come up with Pashto equivalents for what I do. And it was interesting because I started using our own English, as the newspapers in front of you. Believe it or not, this is my text.
Okay.
This I use as a textbook.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And you're holding one, Professor, so I'll just tell you that you look at the first one.
Yeah.
You have a picture.
Yeah.
So I say, look at the picture and talk about it in Pashto.
Yeah, derkha, barobar de.
All right.
That's what it is.
Taasira mein na kum de with the picture.
Bilkul, bilkul. Exactly. It's
Yeah.
worth 1,000 words. So they'll describe it, but then I show them how they need to do it.
Okay.
So we start at the top,
Yeah.
clockwise or counterclockwise. You sweep around, and you've described the
So
whole
am I
picture.
dyslexic?
I'll let you judge that. I'll let you
Yeah,
judge
you need to do a few more tests for that. I'll show you a few more
If you
shows.
didn't know left and right when I said it, then you would immediately be having an issue. But that's not. It's not
I'm fine.
Okay.
It's not a disability.
Okay, so that's one aspect. That's for the attention, and that's
Yes.
so the training is very important. Being culturally sensitive is very important.
Absolutely, the material you give has to be. Why else would anyone want to pick up a piece of paper
Okay.
and read it? Why else? I mean, the pure motivation has to be that it's something you want to know more about.
Yeah.
So the font has to be big. So I start with the big words on the page.
Okay.
And I say, can you identify the, for example, the U's? Can you circle all the U's?
Right.
You know, I'll
You
use
can
the
see
headlines
from
and the
right there,
subheadings.
man.
Okay. So that's one technique.
Yes.
So what are the other solutions that you're using regarding? So that's
for reading I started with.
that's for the
actually,
reading.
and
And I'm
holding
just applying it
attention.
on myself
Yes,
as well.
and using reading pictures. So
Okay.
as you can see, it
so
had to be
pictures, knowing how to scan the picture,
Skim and
big
scan.
words.
Yes.
Okay, and this will help children with learning difficulties.
It'll definitely help because it'll motivate them. They want to read something. They're sick of the textbook.
Okay.
Textbook they associate with the old method, as you've noticed.
Right, okay.
So this is something they enjoy.
Right.
And they've all started
but
reading.
now, but the thing that's confusing me is that, okay, so you're doing this, but then how do you build up on it to the level that they can perform in an exam, they can perform to the level that they should?
How do these exercises
All right.
help?
I think we go back to probably what I should have said in the beginning. Because there are 3 types of dyslexia, I think this is important to explain here.
Yes.
I'll start with what we call neurobiological.
Yes.
Now that is the wiring in the brain in certain areas. There are 2 areas for learning. The angular gyrus, and you have Broca's area for speech problems, and you have Wernicke's area. These are 3 specific areas in the brain where just the wiring is different. Nothing's missing. Nothing's missing. And so,
They're just jumbled up.
well, often you'll have left-handed people, people who respond better. I am too.
Yeah.
I am too, and that's exactly what my issue was. We see things differently. It's not, now, that can make people often say, oh, then you are, and you're generally more brilliant. Brilliance because we see it differently.
Yeah.
I would not say we're more brilliant, but we're using a different part of our brain that allows us to see things that the right-handed person may miss.
Okay.
It's as simple as that. But you'll catch up on it in your reading. We don't.
Okay.
We don't if we're not readers.
Okay.
You can have dyslexics who are what we call hyperlexics. Now, hyperlexia is an obsessive compulsion to read.
Okay.
And these are people who are lost in their reading. Then they have no sense of time.
Okay.
Such people who have no sense of time
Yeah.
are the ones I think you want to talk about next, because that's the next most common
Okay,
problem.
so let's move on to that
Yes.
one.
Hyperlexic.
Now, that is absolutely what we call, the 2 concepts we call the concept of time and the concept of space. We are all governed by those two concepts. Most of our perceptions and our learning is all based on that. But my sense of time may be very different from your sense of time.
Yes.
Now, I may need a larger cushion to transition between one activity and another. I just may. And that is something that schools have to accept.
Right, okay.
That you have brilliant learners. Einstein was expelled from 3 schools, by the way. And everybody knows that. They don't know why. He would just spend his time looking out of the window. And he seemed to be dreaming. And later on, he said that I saw a beam of sunlight on my desk, and I saw particles. And I wondered, if I were a particle, now who would say if I were a particle?
Yeah.
But a dyslexic child would say that.
Yeah, okay.
He said, I just thought, where would I go? And that was the beginning of his theory of relativity, but he was expelled from school instead. So this is the kind of thing we said, at what stage do we start laying boundaries, these milestones, these artificial milestones that education has set is partly the reason why you're asking exactly how long would it take. It takes as long as the child is motivated.
Okay.
I can't predict because I have seen amazing things. I have just, and I can do it in hours. Certain people just need a few hours.
Oh, wow, okay.
Really, it's as simple as that. So,
Okay, but that's the importance of the training aspect. Okay, so now let's move on to the final disorder? Well, what would you call it?
it's now called a difference. It's just called a difference
Okay, so
now.
now what the
we
third
went from
difference?
disorder to disabilities to difficulties, and
now
now the
difference.
politically correct word is
Okay,
difference.
different. So now the third difference, because you mentioned the first two, so now let's talk about the third one quickly.
Yes, I think it's the behavior, because I think when does that learner take control of his or her own life?
Okay.
And I think the first thing that that I try to do is self-regulation. I appeal to the teachers to first of all work on their own negativity, because negativity is the worst thing. That's in teachers what I need in my training to get over in 15 minutes. I've actually, the first 15 minutes of my training is changing their mindset from negative to positive.
How do you do that?
That is, I do a small exercise.
Okay.
Basically, I ask them to think of their life as the lesson.
Okay.
This is the chapter, this is the book, my life,
Okay.
and there are 4 chapters in this book.
Right.
My mistakes, my problems, my lessons, and my choices.
Okay.
And the moment they think of themselves that way, you can see the learning difficulty that they are having.
Yeah.
Because my work, my object is to put them in that position. They need to feel the discomfort that the learner feels in their classroom.
Exactly.
And they are so uncomfortable.
Obviously, you know, if my father's going to take me to somebody who's actually going to treat me for my learning difficulties, you know, that's going to be very hard for me to elaborate on that as well.
Especially if the teacher or the person's judging you as well. So that's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Okay, we've actually run out of time, which is really sad because there's so much more we have to discuss.
Yeah.
So we have to call you
And
back.
you're a
and you
brilliant
must,
speaker too.
No, we need to get more information out of you regarding this. But thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank
I feel
you.
like we didn't even touch the
But
surface.
one last thing, and that is that does it get very late? For example, if somebody comes and probably contacts
it ever
you
too late?
when he's or she's 30 or 35 years
No,
old, can you ever be late on this?
Well, can you set a deadline on your life?
Well, Allah has actually done that.
Well, He does it. So whenever He does it is when we go.
Yeah.
All right.
So until then, you have all the time in the world.
All right, that's
At any
wonderful.
stage.
At any stage, so it's never too late. Thank you
Never,
so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. So we're talking about learning differences within Pakistan, and you know we've had wonderful guests. If you missed it, you need to catch the repeat, and we will try and get her back because it's a well of knowledge, right, sitting right next to us.
Exactly. So do not forget to write to us on our Facebook fan page, which is with the name of.
Well, this morning.
On Twitter.
Well, this morning without a G.
On Daily Motion and YouTube.
Well, this morning.
And this fabulous repeat is going to be at
11:05 p.m. in the evening.
Till the next time, ladies and gentlemen, 1, 2, 3.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am.